Hey everybody, Mike Naso here with the latest on the tropics. It is the first day of the Atlantic hurricane season of 2008, and of course the name list for this year, if you remember, if you've been tracking hurricanes for a while, this name list was used in '96, and it was used in 2002. A few names might look familiar. Bertha, of course, was a nasty hurricane back in '96. Edouard was pretty infamous. In 2002, Isidore and Lily struck the Gulf Coast, and they were retired and replaced with Ike and Laura, and those are two names that we'll use for the first time this year. Of course, we've already exhausted our first name, Arthur, so our next storm, if it gets named, would be Bertha. Now, taking a quick look back at 2007, we actually had 15 named storms, so it was well above average, 6 hurricanes, and 2 major hurricanes. Now, what was interesting about last year was that 2 of the majors were Category 5s, and 2 of the Category 5s hit land at that intensity. So, of the 2 major hurricanes, both of them were Cat 5, and both of them made landfall at Cat 5, which is the first time that's happened in the same season ever. We had 3 U.S. storms make landfall and 1 hurricane, Umberto. In fact, between hurricane season 06 and 07, we only had that 1 hurricane from last September, Umberto. Now, the strongest storm of the year by far was Hurricane Dean. It had 175 mile-an-hour winds and was intensifying still. The pressure got down to 905, and that's tied with Camille and Mitch for one of the lowest pressures ever recorded in the Atlantic Basin. The weakest storm was Melissa in late September off Africa, 40 miles an hour, 1,005 millibars. And the strongest landfall we had was Dean, and it made landfall at its peak intensity near Mahayul, Mexico, with winds of 175 miles an hour, 905 millibar pressure. Again, when you look at the overall Atlantic Basin landfalls, Dean was the 3rd strongest hurricane ever on record to make landfall in the Atlantic Basin, only behind Gilbert and the infamous 1935 Labor Day hurricane that hit Craig Key, Florida. Now, out there today, you can see over the last 24 hours, Arthur has not moved. Look at that. Look at the difference between 24 hours ago and right now. There is no difference in the movement. This thing continues to sit and spin. Luckily, it's weakening, but that does not mean we're not getting heavy rain. Now, here's the latest on Tropical Depression Arthur as of 5 p.m. It was at 17.7 north, 91.1 west. Winds were down to 35 miles an hour, but it's still holding that intensity because stronger winds remain offshore. It's moving west-southwest, not even really moving. It's an extremely slow movement at 5 miles an hour. 1,006 millibars is expected to remain over land, but it should be discernible for almost a week. We're talking 4 or 5 days. We should still be able to point out where Arthur's remnants are, and that's going to cause a lot of rainfall, and that's really, with this system, the big problem. You can see on the latest visible satellite imagery, as we see this loop, you could see the center still slowly drifting. And we're talking a very slow drift right in here, but it's very weak and even hard to discern where the center is, and the Hurricane Center has been noting that as well, that it's very, very difficult to see exactly where Arthur is, and it's continuing that movement in this general direction over the last, say, 24 hours or so. You can see what's happened on the water vapor as the high pressure to the north of the storm right here, as illustrated by the drier air, has basically been pushing down on it, and it's trapped it here over the Yucatan. Instead of allowing the storm to move back out over water and strengthen again, it's kind of getting trapped and caught up here over the Yucatan, which is not good news. And you can certainly see that there, the moisture continuing, and it's a pretty decent circulation overall. It's taking up a wide area, and that's the rainfall is not going to be a good thing for areas of Mexico. You can see the GFDL has our system where it is currently and takes it in about 48, 72, 96 hours back out over the Gulf and re-intensifies it to a tropical storm. And you can see it there making landfall in northern Mexico. I don't think this is going to occur, but nevertheless, it's the GFDL, you never know. The Canadian still shows the vorticity of Arthur over Mexico in 5 days. So that's what we're talking about here. This thing's going to stick around. The no gaps in about 5-6 days shows lower pressures still in this region, and then actually 2 features up here in the western Atlantic and the eastern Atlantic that might do something. We'll have to wait and see exactly what the no-gaps is picking up on, but still interesting nonetheless. The NAM shows Arthur still sitting here over the Yucatan with the moisture around it, and actually spins up another tropical cyclone in the eastern Pacific in about 2 days and brings it inland around 55 to 60 hours here in Mexico. If we did get another eastern Pacific storm, it would be Boris. Now out there today in the central Atlantic, we have a pretty good tropical wave here. This is decent looking wave. It's still way too far south for any real development. But if you look at this satellite image, it's really not all that extremely unfavorable. Typically, June 1st, you're seeing winds shearing straight like this. Any waves there are getting destroyed, if there are any waves. And you can see, even though this is not a favorable environment, it doesn't. If I told you we're looking at August 1st, you would probably believe me. So I'm not liking what I'm seeing. Off Africa, we had this low pressure move off already, and again, it's too early, and you can see there's not much left. But look at how the African coast already is popping, and those waters out there are so hot that I think we could have a very active Cape Verde season. And then looking further out towards, say, Central America and the Eastern Pacific, where we have Arthur spinning here, we do have this region in the Eastern Pacific, and this might be what the NAM was picking up on. In fact, if we get a little closer in, you can see here, sometimes when you get these tail ends of tropical cyclones, you get some type of development. We see it often, and we're going to have to wait and see if this is what the NAM shows. If it spins up in anything, it would probably move generally towards the west-northwest in that general direction. Finally, out in the western Pacific, we have Typhoon Nakri, and that's down Cat 1, 85 miles an hour, gusting over 100. It's moving to the north-northeast at 14, and it should weaken and continue to spread out. And you can see it's not all that huge. The eye is still rather small, and it should be moving up and away from land and not be a factor anymore. Good convection off towards the well to the southeast of where Nakri is, and we'll have to wait and see if that becomes another typhoon. So I'm Mike Nasel from IPR. That's the latest on the tropics. I'll see you next time.